a significant development that's transpiring because Vice President Jagdeep Dhankar's resignation, citing health reasons, has set off a chain of critical developments within the BJP and the government. Because as per constitutional mandate, an election to fill the post must be held within 60 days, with Deputy Chairman Harivansh Narayan Singh temporarily presiding over the Rajya Sabha. But simultaneously, the BJP here faces a leadership churn with Party President JP Nadda's term ending later this year. Though no successor has been announced, names are being discussed internally. The appointment will be crucial as the party, remember, sets its sight on the 2029 general election, and adding to the BJP's political calendar is clearly the upcoming Bihar Assembly election expected in October-November. So this will be BJP's first major electoral test in the state. Candidate selection, alliance building and campaign leadership are actively under review. And according to senior functionaries as well, let's tell you, reportedly there is a minor cabinet reshuffle that may be on the cards to realign portfolios in view of the parliamentary changes and political responsibilities. So Rajya Sabha floor management is expected to be restructured following Dhankar's departure. So with multiple leadership decisions pending and crucial elections approaching, the BJP is heading into a politically sensitive period that could shape its internal dynamics and electoral preparedness well into 2026. What do our guests think of the same? Well, I'll take that viewpoint across to them. Joining me, in fact, on the show tonight is Kapil Madan, advocate and political analyst. I'm given to understand we'll also been joined in by our other guests. But for the moment, Kapil, thank you very much for taking the time out and joining us here this evening. Let me begin by asking you this. Health reasons has often been the final fig leaf in Indian political exits. But was this exit, in your opinion, less about Dhankar's health and more about perhaps the BJP's institutional hygiene ahead of the Bihar polls in 2026 build-up as well, given the timing coming into question?
Yeah, so let me say this very, very clearly. I mean, there is something more than what meets the eye here. I mean, it is very, very obvious. In fact, what we saw, it was the first day of the parliament. And in fact, I was told that, Mr. Dhankar had, a few meetings also scheduled. And if there are reports that were to be believed, there are reports that suggest that he was to attend a program also in Jaipur. I mean, it's unbelievable once you have such kind of a packed schedule. You don't make any, announcement before. There are no indications prior to the beginning of this parliament session that Mr. Dhankar is unwell, or there is any kind of medical issue, or there is any kind of health crisis. I mean the dots just don't connect. And just to add to this, when you see the tweet made by the Prime Minister, the tweet was also very cryptic. When a person of his stature, he was holding the second highest constitutional post in our country. When a person like him resigns, citing health reasons, without there being any kind of, prior medical history about it, one would expect from the Prime Minister to write a few good things about what he has done so far, what has been his achievements so far. What the Prime Minister has done is, he has just mentioned that, he has handled he played several roles, and he wish him good luck. So, to my understanding,
Kapil, why do you think that is? You're absolutely right. Looking at that particular, tweet as well, and also most often than not, Dhankar being referred to as the Kisan Putra, being denied of a dignified farewell as well. On the other hand, perhaps raises questions whether, Ramesh Congress now an ally. How do you look at that? Given the fact that most often than not, these tweets are much more in detail.
Yes. So, let me give you another perspective of it. One of the view given by the opposition is, this parliament session was very, very significant. It is very, very significant for the government as well as for the opposition. The opposition had several issues on which it would like to corner the government, especially Operation Sindoor, the statements made by President Trump, the statement about jet crash made by President Trump, ceasefire announcement by President Trump, use of prayed for bargaining or negotiating a ceasefire. Our foreign policy, Bihar voter revision exercise done by Election Commission. So you had many big issues, controversial issues, significant issues on which the opposition was expected to speak. On the other hand, if you look at it, another side of it, we all know it's been almost 1 year. There are speculations that, BJP, is unable to appoint its successor insofar as the president of the party is concerned. We all saw in the past week
All right.
several high-profile.
Kapil,
Yeah.
you're absolutely right. We will get speaking about that, aspect as well. Lots to be discussing on that front. Unable to appoint the party president, what does it seem like, especially with the term for JP Nadda also, and in the larger scheme of things? I'm going to come back to you. But before I do that, let me also take the opportunity to introduce our other guest this evening, Kailash Adhikari, MD Governance Now. Kailash, thank you very much for also joining us. Kapil, of course, went on to make pertinent points, but given the aspect, Kailash, with the resignation, being packaged as personal, but was it really political containment, given the timing, tone of the Prime Minister's post that we just spoke about, and the judiciary standoff backdrop? Was this a tactical retreat to avoid institutional embarrassment?
Nivedhana, what happens is that whenever to the post of a vice president, if any person occupying the post of the vice president or president or any such important post in a democracy, if he or she resigns, naturally there are appealments that happens in the political circle. There are talks, but if we try to gauge much further into it, I don't think so that we must. Opposition does get a particular point that there have been past controversies with the former vice president of India and why the sudden exit on health grounds, and that too at a certain hour. I mean, as an opposition, if it would be better if it plays a constructive role rather than talking about issues wherein constructive opposition comes into factor. Mr. Dhankar has served as Shri Dhankar has served as the Vice President of India in the most honorable form. And if he personally feels that his health does not allow him to be able to properly discharge the duties that a Vice President of the largest democracy should, and then he took his particular decision, and the Honorable President accepted the resignation, as well as the Honorable Prime Minister wished him good luck. I mean, looking into the deeper sense of it, why, what, Nivedhana, I mean, this is not the kind of politics that one must, focus on the opposition or wishes to enter into. And to fact that so many bills regarding the lawyer issue or the Justice Yashwant Verma issue, that the bill was accepted by the Vice President when he was chairing the session of the Rajya Sabha. Now, if you take any tenure...
Let me interject you over there, Kapil. Beg your pardon, Kailash. Given the fact that, what we're talking about over here, where reports now suggesting that a possible judicial standoff over impeachment as well. Let me take that to Kapil Madan. You were also talking about how this would be looking for the BJP as well. And given how this has panned out for the party as well, this may have accelerated his exit. The possible judicial standoff over impeachment. Did Dhankar, in your opinion, in a sense, go too far in questioning judicial independence? Or was the Modi government ready to remove him, as reports are indicating? Well, while, of course, Kailash says, Kapil, that one shouldn't be reading too much into this.
No, I agree with Kailash that you should not be, reading too much into the, this, perhaps the so-called standoff between Mr. Dhankar and the judiciary. Though I, agree with you or, to this proposition to an extent that Mr. Dhankar did cross a line when he was making those remarks against the judiciary. I will totally support that position. But to say that his remarks, against the judiciary has any kind of role to play so far as his resignation is concerned, I think, this theory, does not have any substance. I think there is something more at play. I think, I very strongly believe that there are circumstances that suggest that there is something bigger, to play. And that's got to do more with the politics and less with the judiciary.
Okay. While you point that out, Kailash, let's also not forget that this is a rare constitutional reshuffle. So do you see the BJP here course correct by choosing a more neutral vice presidential face, or will it reward ideological loyalty doubling down before 2029?
2029 is way too far. I mean, to talk about that, to keep 2029 in mind, the party in power to select a vice president, keeping their ideologies. I think the Bharatiya Janata Party, being the party in power, will definitely think of nation first and will try to pick a candidate who is who he or she is most suited for the post of the vice president of India. I mean, anyone who has that kind of merits to occupy the post of the vice president of India, as we have seen over the past years. So, I mean, talking of to think of on political influence, taking in mind 2029 or Bihar, the upcoming Bihar or any state election, I don't think so that this is a point of discussion that should be the focus or would be the focus, central focal point in the Bharatiya Janata Party while selecting the next candidate for the Vice President of India's post.
All right, but Kapil, on the other hand, could this also, we've spoken about the judiciary aspect, that confrontation has its limits as well. Is that the other way to look at this?
I agree with you, and let me just make
Kapil,
one observation. Yeah, let me just make one observation on what Mr. Adhikari said. I personally know Mr. Adhikari is a very learned man. He is very thorough with his subject. Perhaps, but to make an statement here to say that there is nothing political about it. So I don't think Mr. Adhikari is right. Perhaps he also knows that there is something much bigger which is at play here, and Mr. Adhikari wants to just pass this off as a something which is a routine resignation, which I think no prudent, no intelligent person would understand, because there are circumstances that clearly suggest that there is something bigger, there is something very, very big in the background.
More than what meets the eye, clearly, and the timing of it as well. Kailash, would you want to respond to that? Given how it's perhaps being downplayed is what Kapil is suggesting.
The opportunity of being with Kapil on various panels, and I definitely regard his views and thoughts, and thank you for what he spoke about me. But what I meant by being political was to reply to the question asked by Nivedina, that will 2029 be kept in mind politically to choose the next candidate for the vice president?
In the larger picture is what I meant.
Long affair. That was my political point that I have wished to make, that politics should not and will not come in play of 2029 while selecting the next candidate of vice president of India. That has to be on the basis of merit, which the party in power will definitely.
All right, fair enough. While you put that into context, but Kapil, coming to you, given what for the BJP we were discussing before we, of course, got Kailash in to give us his viewpoints as well on the show, does the BJP now need to offer a post-Modi political story as well, not just a campaign to sustain momentum into the next cycle? Since we were talking about the leadership, what that's looking like, challenges over here as well.
So let me tell you, there is a very, big leadership crisis in the BJP. And, if you look at the political developments in the past 1 or 2 months, there are, many indications that clearly suggest this. We saw the RSS chief making a remark that, one should retire after 75. We saw, and there was speculation, about Mr. Modi's retirement because he's turning 75 in September. And not to forget, it was Mr. Modi only who came up with the rule for the BJP leaders, some, convention that, they should be retiring once they achieve once they reach the age of 75. So if you apply the same yardstick to Mr. Modi, there are speculation because, in fact, not only the opposition, people within the party would also question because, practice what you preach. This is what you did with the earlier leaders. You saw Mr. Advani, taking that kind of a role when he became a, margdarshak for the party. Perhaps the other leaders, the second line of leadership in the BJP, would also want the same thing. That, you please follow what you have, said it yourself. So I think it is a, big, very, very big crisis. And also the fact is, we all know that from the past 1 year, BJP is not being able to select their party president. So what does that signify? Who is the second or who will be the successor to, Mr. Modi's political lineage is something which, it is still indecisive.
Right. In fact, as you point that out in the larger aspect of it, the questions also coming across. I will come back to the both of you, but before that, let's quickly listen into what Manish Tiwari had to say.
भारत के संवैधानिक इतिहास में शायद ये पहली बार हुआ है कि उपराष्ट्रपति जी ने इस्तीफा दिया और बहुत ही जल्दबाजी में आनन फानन में इसको स्वीकार भी कर लिया गया और इसलिए अगर उपराष्ट्रपति जी भूतपूर्व उपराष्ट्रपति जी इसका उल्लेख करें कि परिस्थितियां क्या थी उससे जो सच्चाई है वो 146 करोड़ भारत के लोग जान पाएंगे.
Kailash, we just heard what Manish Tiwari had to say. More importantly, going on to say that that reason has to be found out, because like we're circling back to what really meets more than the eye over here. How do you look at that? Given a lot of people in the opposition are still echoing the same.
I don't blame the opposition for echoing the same, because it is the job of the opposition to find, even a needle in a haystack. So Manish Tiwari is not wrong in the role that he's playing. My only point here being at the center stage that let's not look too much at it. Mr. Dhankar definitely served in most honorable and a gracious form the post of the Vice President of India. And if he felt like resigning on health grounds, then he definitely followed the protocol of the resignation. The Honorable President, respecting the feelings of the former Vice President, accepted the resignation. And even the Honorable Prime Minister of India sent his good wishes to the former Vice President. I mean, what Mr. Manish Tiwari said or what the other leaders of the opposition are saying is the job of the opposition, So they are doing their job by trying to find out or trying to go into deep or trying to question Mr. Dhankar. Now it is upon him personally, what he chooses further.
All right. So essentially, we want to say that, we don't have to read too much into it. But before I let the both of you go, Kapil, let me quickly come to you, given the timing of this as well. Because, viewed alongside the ED and CBI controversies and growing public fatigue with the overreach, is the BJP trying to detox its institutional image before the Bihar polls become a national referendum as well?
I don't think so. That should have, played any role insofar as we all know. And in fact, there are, many instances that clearly suggest that, the institution that we have, they are, tilted towards helping the, incumbent government. And Mr. Dhankar resigning, Mr. Dhankar not resigning, because let's if you look at it from the constitution perspective, the post of a vice president is a ceremonial post. So in that context, I don't think, whether agencies are helping or the agencies are tilted towards the incumbent government, I don't think that can have any connection insofar as Mr. Dhankar's resignation is concerned. At least I don't see it that way.
All right. Thank you on that particular note, the both of you, in fact, for joining us with your perspective as to how this has panned out. But essentially what happens thereafter, we'll have to wait and watch. But for the moment, we leave the conversation at that. And we shift our focus to more that we are tracking. In fact, the top story that we were also putting into perspective earlier, as far as an Air India plane's auxiliary power unit that caught fire after landing at the Delhi airport this afternoon, and all passengers and crew members are safe.
So it seems that the negative news for Air India, it is not coming to an end. In the latest development, another aircraft of Air India, it encountered a technical problem. What we are getting through the official statement from Air India. So this particular flight of Air India AI315 from Hong Kong to Delhi. So shortly after it landed at Delhi's international airport, it caught fire, and airline says that the fire was at the APU side, which is the auxiliary power unit, and the safest part was that airline says that this particular fire was reported after the flight was landed and the passengers, they were disembarking the flight. So this aircraft has been taken to the bay for further investigation, and as of now it has been put out of operation for the investigation part. But all the passengers, those who were on board this aircraft, they were safe. They were taken out of the aircraft. But this APU is usually termed as a secondary sort of engine, which is not the main engine, but it is being put in use to provide light for air conditioning and similar sort of activity when the aircraft is on ground. So yes, if there is a fire on the APU side, it is definitely a serious cause of concern. But airline says that as of now, the aircraft has been taken for further investigation, and now they're checking. So, and the same has been apprised to the aviation regulator, DGCA.
Right, Samir, thank you very much for joining us with those key inputs as far as this incident is concerned. But for the moment, we'll leave it at that because it's time for a quick break here on Business at 9. Stay with us. Don't go anywhere. We're going to be right back.